let me... Where do I even start? This is so much. Okay, let me start with this. A few questions. Do you believe Donald Trump is a warmonger? Yes or no? Do you think Donald Trump is swayed on things that he deeply believes? For instance, tariffs. Do you believe that anyone, because he was practically, I think maybe his first word was tariff when he was born. He has been for tariffs since the 1970s and 80s. He has always talked about tariffs. Do you think anyone is going to talk him out of tariffs? Anyone? I don't. Because believe me, I've tried. Now, what's the other thing that he has said since the 1970s? No war. These foreign wars have got to stop. Okay. So the first question that you have to ask yourself is, has Donald Trump become part of the problem somehow on things that he's not wishy-washy on? I could see him flipping on certain things, but he's not wishy-washy on these. These are things he was born saying. No foreign wars and tariffs. He loves them. No one's going to change his mind on that. So, has he changed? And if he has changed, does that mean you no longer trust him because he either lied to you or somebody got to him in the deep state? So can you trust him anymore? Next question. If you can't trust him, who can you trust? A guy who stood on stage and was shot because he stood for what he believes in. You can't trust him. Who can you trust? If he's suddenly been co-opted by the deep state. And I'm not saying that's not a possibility. I don't think that's what's happening, but we've seen too much together. We know anything is possible. So if you can't trust him, who do you trust? Because remember, chaos and trust are polar opposites and are both needed for their objective. Chaos for the destruction of the Western world, and trust for the healing of the Western world. I don't give anybody blanket trust. I mean, don't. You shouldn't give it to me. You shouldn't give it to anybody. You have to verify yourself. Trust, yet verify, is what Reagan used to say. Okay. So you have to make your decision first on where you stand on Donald Trump. Is he a guy easily swayed? Or does he make decisions based on for instance, he has told me, Glenn, if I get down the road and these tariffs, which they're not because they're great, they're beautiful, they're going to work. If I get down and they just don't work, wait, you think I'm going to keep doing tariffs? No. I think the guy is reasonable. I think he's an intelligent man, and he's a businessman. Now, next question. Are you one of these categories? Are you, because this is who I see on Twitter, are you one of these people that says, light them up, and you're just a neocon? You're just somebody who doesn't mind all these foreign wars. You just find a way to, you don't want to be a neocon. You don't think you're a neocon, but you are always there for the next foreign war. Honestly, that's who I think I used to be. I didn't ever consider myself a neocon. I just trusted the government to, we got to do these things because I don't trust anymore. And I also am smart enough now to look back in history and see, have any of these things worked? Because none of them have worked. Regime change, not worked. Okay. Are you that? Are you part of the group of people who don't want war, but you understand radical Islam, you're willing to admit it, and you know who these 12ers are? think that is the category I'm in, which doesn't make you pro-war. It just means you will think about it. Are you part of the people who don't want war, and you know what radical Islam is, but you don't want to think about it? That's what's caused many of our problems. We haven't named our enemy, and it is Islamists. That's what it is. And I've said since 2003 or 4, the head of the snake of all of this, is not Afghanistan. It is not Iraq. It's Iran. Okay? And nobody has been willing to go there. But if you know who the 12ers are, you probably, have a different point of view, because there's people that were so radical that even the Ayatollah Khomeini in 1979 banned them because he thought they were too crazy and too dangerous. Okay, so are you part of the people who don't want war and you're willing to look the other way on radicalized Islam? Or are you part of, I don't know, the trolls from the West that either really just want more chaos, or, you're paid by somebody who sows propaganda for state actors or just to create division? I don't know. But I think, that is really, really broad, but that's pretty much what I see on X, those 4 camps. People who are just like, yep, they're a troll. Nope, they won't admit what radical Islam is because they don't want war, and I completely understand that. Or people who don't want war but understand who radical Islam is. Or just people who are like, light them up, let's go. What are we waiting for? We're the United States, USA, USA, USA. Those are the categories. Are you one of those categories? If you are, I hope you're not one of the, either the first one or the last one. I hope you're one that is still reasonable in between, because not everything is a black and white checklist. If you have a black and white checklist where you must hold all of these values or you're an enemy of the state, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not. Because life does require some compromise. I'm not saying on war, but it requires some compromise. It requires you to listen and ask questions and not judge everything from the past. Now, that one is really hard because we've had 100 years of this, and look at where it's gotten us. We're broke. We literally cannot afford another war. Another war will put us possibly over the edge, and our economy will completely collapse. All right? So we literally cannot afford another war. But people will say, well, we can't afford not to have another war. Okay, we could play this game all day long. So the next question I have to ask you. Is Iraq just another, Iran just another Iraq or Afghanistan or Libya or Syria or any other ones? Is it just another one of those that we would go in? And I am not, by the way, just want to make it very clear, I am not for going in. Is Iraq and Afghanistan the same as Iran? Or is it possible that it is more like Poland? I do not have an answer for you, because any answer I would get would be from a government or some sort of a think tank, and I don't trust the think tanks, and I don't trust our government anymore. The CIA used to be the place where you could go and they could tell you, but, they've told us all kinds of lies. I mean, they're doing a color revolution. They've been involved in a color revolution in our own country, let alone color revolutions all over the world. So I don't trust them. I want to ask you, here's what I said in Afghanistan. We were in Afghanistan for maybe 2 years, and I said, this is not going to end well. Now, I had high hopes, but it's not going to end well because, does anybody remember why I said this? I said, I don't think it's going to end well because I haven't seen the person you can put on the free Afghani money. When you're in a war, war will produce heroes, real heroes that stand up and are willing to just take the flag into places that nobody else. We have so many people in our country that could go on the money. If you look at our founders, they all could be put on our money because they were willing to give up everything. They were willing to die for what they believed in. I didn't see anybody in Afghanistan that was leading people. I saw a lot of people that were helping us, but I didn't see anybody who was a leader that stepped up to the plate and said, this is who we are. We are meant to be free. We have got to move forward. I didn't see that. That was out. Same thing with Iraq. Nobody stood up. Same thing with Libya, Syria, everything else we've been involved in. Never have I seen it. Okay? Not in Vietnam, not in Korea. Nowhere. Saw it in Poland. Saw it in Hungary. Saw it in Georgia. I saw it in the former Soviet Union with the satellite countries. And here's how I describe them. The people that wanted Levi's and American music. There was this movement then that they wanted to be more like America. And those people, like Valenza was one of them, those people led their nation into freedom. Now, I ask you this because I believe the Iranians, I don't know. And I know I'm finely dicing here, but the Iranians, I put them into a different category with a giant question mark. They could be exactly like the Afghanis. But the Persians, and again, I know I'm cutting this finely. The Persians, they're the best educated. They're the most westernized. They're the least likely to be radical, and they love the West. How many of them are there on the streets? We know a lot. We know millions because they have marched and marched and marched and then were beaten in the streets and then disappeared off the streets. So I know they exist. I just don't know what number they exist in. Is this another Afghanistan, or is it possible that this is a Poland? Again, answering any of these questions does not lead you to an answer of whether the United States of America should go in. That's the only thing, the only question that is it in our interest? Is it in our actual frontline, affect us today interest? And that question leads me to another question. And we'll get to that one in just a second. First, let me get to relief factor. Summer is here, and that means the things that really matter, front yard, wrestling, wrestling matches with the kids and the grandkids, tending to your garden, been waiting all year to plant your garden, walking barefoot through the grass while the sun goes down. Here's the question. Are you looking forward to it, or are you bracing for it? Because pain has a way of getting between you and the moments that used to bring you joy. Don't skip the trip to the lake because you don't want to go. You skip it because you feel like you're going to be back in pain as soon as you get out of the water. You're not going to be able to toss the ball. You're going to pay. Don't stop saying no because your knees can't take the pivot anymore. What if it could change? Relief Factor is a daily drug-free supplement that helps fight inflammation. If your pain is coming from inflammation, there is a real good chance, 70% chance this can help. It's at the core of so many types of pain. This summer, you don't have to sit on the sidelines. Give their 3-week quick start a try, $19.95. Visit relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com, or call 800-4RELIEF. 800, the number 4, relief. 10 seconds, station ID. All right, I got a couple of other things to lay out, and I'm going to take your phone calls here in just a couple of minutes. But I want to lay out. Two more things. You know what Islam is. Let me ask you the question. Do you know what the 12ers are? If you don't understand what the 12ers are, then you don't understand the mullahs and the clerics of Iraq. You don't know why they are saying death to Israel, death to America all the time. I mean, that's a popular phrase, I guess. Some hit numbers have come out of it. But in Iran, the 12ers actually mean it. What is a 12er? They believe in the coming of the 12th Imam. They believe that the 12th Imam was born. They came for him, I don't even know, in 800 or whatever. He climbed into a well, he hid, and he's just waiting for his return, and he'll only return when the world is washed in blood so he can come and bring the end of times. That's what you're dealing with in Iran. So you cannot think rationally, because they don't think rationally in the cleric circles. They don't. Persians, they think rationally. The clerics, the mullahs, they do not think rationally. Even for Muslims, they don't think rationally. They are to wash the world in blood to hasten the return of the promised one. If you know who the 12ers are, how does that affect your opinion? One last thing, and then I'm going to the phones. Buckle up for this one. I believe we are in the beginning of the final battle. I believe this is the beginning of the battle of the Antichrist. Might take us 40 years to get there, but this is the beginning of it. And this all ends when Christ splits the mountains. But I believe all the players are on the ground.
This is Glenn Beck.
Now what do we do about it? Your phone call next. Somewhere in your house, maybe in a closet, maybe in the attic, there's a box. And inside that box are tapes and photos and old films, memories you just can't replace. You tell yourself, I'm going to preserve those. I got to get to those. But someday turns into tomorrow and the next week and then months and then years. And in the meantime, the tapes break down. The photos fade. The moments you thought you'd never forget start to slip away. That's why Legacy Box exists. They take whatever you've got, VHS tapes, 8mm film, print slides. They digitize it beautifully. Then you send it in. They hand everything back to you with care. They give you the drive pack, or a link that holds your family's history, ready to share, ready to last. It's not just about technology. It's about honoring the people who made you who you are. It's about making sure your kids and your kids' kids see the moments that defined your life and made your family your family. The faces, the voices, the stories that still mean something. Don't wait until someday. Open up that box right now and get to Legacy Box. LegacyBox.com/records. You get 50% off today. LegacyBox.com/records. They'll send you the box. You turn it in when you're ready.
Check out the daily newsletter for every story we cover on the show and so much more. Get it at glennbeck.com.
Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. I want to listen to you today. I'm tired of listening to social media, and I don't know if you're a bot or not, but I can hear you, and I know you're real. Stephen in North Carolina, where do you stand on what is happening today with us appearing to be getting closer to war with Iran?
Thank you so much, Glenn. It's a privilege to be able to speak with you. I think
Thank
I'm
you.
in a very similar position as yourself. I like to let you know I am a veteran, and this is kind of personal. I had buddies in Iraq in 2006 that were hit by Iranian IEDs and lost their legs and were injured. And so in that sense, it is a little bit personal. But stepping back from that, I want to go back to something Stu said the other day. Israel, or maybe it was Jason, when Israel strikes, they have to do it right, because if they don't do it correctly, the retaliation could be a nuclear weapon on their country. And And something else in retrospect, I believe what Trump went through with the assassination and him saying that God has put him in this position for a reason, that time is standing true right now. And I believe that we don't need new wars, but in this case, there is a specific example of God's people, which you quoted Genesis earlier this week. I heard you, or last week, that those that bless Israel shall be blessed. Those that curse Israel shall be cursed. I do not believe when Donald Trump or the American people stand before God, he's going to say, you were in debt, you rejected my people, and I'm proud of you for doing that. I don't believe if Donald Trump chooses to aid in limited ways the Israeli people, that God is going to look at that as a negative thing. I think that we shall be a blessed nation for blessing the people of Israel. Not that they're always correct, but in this instance, as you guys pointed out correctly, and I don't believe on boots on the ground. I do not believe on actively the Americans going in and storming the regime of Iran. But if there's certain technologies that the Americans need to assist the Israelis to carry out this mission to protect the state of Israel, I am 100%. I voted for that. I am with Donald Trump. The Israelis know they have a president that fully supports them. And I truly believe in my heart, Glenn, that God has placed our president in the position that he's in for such a time as this.
I agree. I think with almost everything that you've said, I want to emphasize no boots on the ground. The question is, we're being asked now to take one of our bombers and drop one of the largest bombs we have that is non-nuclear, the only one that could penetrate. What is it, the Nance site? Pat, do you remember which one it was? But we can't. Israel doesn't have anything that would penetrate. So it would be our plane, our pilots, dropping our bomb. It's not like, hey, we're going to sell this bomb to Israel and they can do it. We would have to do it. Does that cross a line for you? Because I think it would for the rest of the world. It would put us in the war.
I believe it's hard for me to answer that question, because I'm with you. If that is an internal struggle, because if you cross that line as far as where we're allowing our pilots to deliver these deployments,
right,
if you will, well, why not the boots on the ground? It's the same thing in essence. I get that, but I guess my answer is kind of a little bit of a dodge. But we need to have our president and vice president actively in prayer. God, what should I do? And then it doesn't matter what Trump does. He knows if he has a true relationship with God, he'll know he's doing what he's supposed to do. And so I think we just, as the church, as the Americans, we truly need to be in prayer right now for our president and our leadership. And that is what's going to make a difference in this situation, is the power of prayer. Not this, well, let's just pray thing that we see online, but I'm talking about putting the phone down, putting the social media down, turning off the TV, except for the Glenn Beck program. And after it goes off, we seriously need to be praying for our president, because this is not easy. And no matter what he does, he's going to catch flack from one side or the other regardless.
Thank you so much for your phone call, Stephen. I appreciate your well-spoken and calm, rational thought here. It's funny that you would say the prayer thing, because I just said in the break to Pat, I said if I were the president, I would be asking right now. I would be not asking. I'd be telling the nation, today is a day of national fast and prayer and humiliation. Humble yourself before the Lord. Fast and pray. I mean, I prayed right before we went on the air with the team, and I said, Lord, please don't please instruct me on what to say. Please make sure that I'm not leading anybody astray on this. This is way too serious, way too serious. And I do believe that we are in the final days. Again, I don't know what that means, but I mean, everything. How far are we away from a chip in our forehead, Elon Musk? How far away are we from the things we never thought possible? A digital currency, a global government, and a foe that looks at good as evil and evil as good. How far away are we from one side not understanding the other? I mean, we're here. All of it is here now. And I really believe that, the forces that you see in Iran are part of it, and it's not going to go away. It's just not going to go away. And so we do have to be extraordinarily prayerful on this. But may I just add one thing to pray? I don't believe. I mean, I understand God if I look at him as my dad, okay? Not my actual dad, but my perfect dad. Everybody's perfect dad. How do you discipline a child? God does not discipline with anger. He tells you over and over again, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. It's going to hurt, it's going to hurt, it's going to leave scars, don't do it. And then when you do it, he doesn't punish you. Your actions punish you, okay? All you have to do is say, Dad, I am so sorry. And Dad will come back and say, okay, forget about it. Let's start again. No matter how many times, okay, forget about it. Let's start again. And he never, ever holds a grudge or is not forgiving of your mistakes. So I learned how to punish my children. You punish just enough to the consequences, but it hurts you inside to do it. The other thing is, when you're praying, why do people go to God and go, what should I do? If you're trying to be a good parent, if your teenage kids come to you, or your 20-something kids come to you, you might ask them questions, but when they come and say, Dad, I'm in this predicament, what should I do? I shouldn't say this. Mom, because the guys always are like, I got the answer for you. Mom, what do I do? Mom will usually ask questions. And if you're talking about women, they don't want the answer. I don't think God wants to give you the answer. I think God wants to verify the answer. I think God wants all of us to do our own homework. So we are not just helpless boobs that are looking to somebody else, like me, God forbid, to give you an answer. You have to listen to me and then ponder. It's why I started the first half hour with nothing but questions. You have to ask and answer questions. Who am I? What does this mean? Who is involved? What are the ramifications of this? Then you have to decide, I think I stand here. That's when you go to Dad. And you humble yourself and you say, Dad, I think this is the right answer. Which one, as a father, which one is the one that you are going to look at your kid and probably weep with joy when they leave the room, or even if you can stand it long enough to leave the room? Which one would make you weep? The one who says, Dad, I don't know what I'm doing. Give me an answer. Or the one that comes to you and says, Dad, I've watched you. I've listened to you. I've done everything I can. I went here and I looked here, and I went here and I looked here, and I think I have an answer. I just need to know, am I on the right track? That's when I, as a father, would go, my gosh, son, yes, you're getting it. But no, that's not the right answer. I want you to go back and look at this. That's the way you pray, with real power. You come up after doing all that you can do. And you know what? It's really scary. Because I've had this happen so many times in my life. You will know whether you're fooling yourself before you even get to prayer. Because you will say, I know what he's going to say. I know what he's going to say. Well, do you? A, do you know what he's going to say? And B, why do you know what he's going to say? Is it because there's too much of you in that answer? Because there's too much of, this is what I really want to do. You know it's God when it's the thing you don't want to do. You absolutely know it's God. When he's like, nope, don't buy that car. Nope, don't take that job. Nope, don't go to vacation, in Hawaii right now. And you're like, crap. Now you're faced with the final choice. And the prayers only are strengthened with the Lord if you pass this final test. Will you do what he says? Will you then take it the next step and do it? Or will you say, you know what? I think this is right. That must be just me saying that. Because you want to be that way. You want it so badly. That's where the obedient kids win every time. They do the thing they don't want to do. They do the thing that Dad wants them to do. But Dad is not going to tell you if you haven't thought about it until today. If you're like, I just listened to Glenn Beck program. I don't know. What should I do? If I were Dad, if I were God, I'd say, I don't know. Maybe study it out in your own mind. Why would you bring what Glenn Beck says to me? Well, that's what Glenn Beck is doing. I've already talked to Glenn Beck about what Glenn Beck is saying. I need to know what you're thinking, because we cannot truly be independent if we are not independent thinkers. And look at the kind of thinkers the world is making us. Our education, what do they all say? What do teachers all say? This should have been the biggest red flag for us years ago. Okay, kids, write this down because this is going to be on the test. They don't mean write it down. They mean memorize it. They should never be saying that. They should constantly be asking you questions to get you to think, so you can defend it. You can think it through. You can share it with others. Your opinion then is truly yours. If you really want to be independent, if you really want to be your highest self, if you want to be the person you were born to be, if you want to be successful in all things, the knowledge must belong to you. And I believe that is the first understanding of the order of prayer. I got to do my work first. Dad's not just going to give it to me. I've got to do my work first. All right, back in just a second. Let me tell you about Patriot Mobile. If I asked you to put a price on your car, you could do it. Might not be exact, but you could name a number, certain amount of money, where if handed you in cash, you'd be willing to hand over the keys. Now, how about your house? Your house, that's a harder one. There's history there, memories, roots. And there's probably still a number there, right? So the question that actually matters is, what about your principles? Is there a price on your principles? No, there's not. And there's not a price, especially, when you're paying a bill to one of the big cell phone companies, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, part of that money is going to organizations that stand against your principles. But there is a choice, and it's Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile gives you the same great coverage on the same cell towers, but they donate to causes you actually support. Pro-life organizations, first responders, religious liberty, veterans. Ask yourself again, is there a price on your principles? Or is this where you draw the line? Make the switch today. Go to patriotmobile.com/Beck or call 972-PATRIOT. 972-PATRIOT, patriotmobile.com/Beck. Use the promo code Beck for a free month of service. patriotmobile.com/Beck or call 972-PATRIOT.
Ain't no snake oil here. Just truth, grit, and good old-fashioned common sense. This is Glenn Beck.
Let me go to Jennifer quickly on line 3. Hello, Jennifer. How are you?
Hello. It's a pleasure to speak with you today.
Thank you.
My thought is I support the people of Israel. I support the people that want to get rid of the Ayatollah in Iran. I don't support the war. I've seen...
Wait. The war with Israel or us being involved in a war?
Us being involved.
Okay. I think I'm with you.
I've seen the price. My husband is a veteran and excuse me. He's suffering. He's suffering from PTSD and from all the health problems that came from that war over in Iraq. And I can't support our people going there.
Jennifer, what's your husband's name?
David.
David?
Yes.
Is that a chicken or a child?
That's a chicken.
Jennifer?
I have an injured animal in my house right now.
Okay.
And he's responding to everybody outside.
Okay. Thank you so much for what you've already sacrificed for the country, and I completely understand. And Lord, please take David in your hands and Jennifer and heal him, help her heal, and bring them peace and comfort, Lord. Thank you, Jennifer, for your phone call. We'll keep your husband, David, in our prayers. There are millions like that in America. Back in just a second.
This is Glenn Beck.